Hi, I'm Kimberly Durden, and I'm a board-certified lactation consultant, and I've been helping moms breastfeed for over 20 years. Today we're going to talk about how to create a breastfeeding schedule. When your baby's first born, you'll notice that they want to feed quite often. Initially, you'll want to go with that. Newborn babies need to feed 8 to 15 times every 24 hours. So creating a strict schedule, putting the baby on a 3 to 4 hour feeding schedule could be counterproductive. Many books actually suggest that your baby should breastfeed every 2 to 3 hours. I suggest that you watch your baby as opposed to watching the clock. Your baby may want to feed more than every 2 hours, and that's perfectly fine. Watch your baby for signs of hunger, early feeding cues that are going to let you know that your baby's hungry. For instance, your baby will make head movements. They'll move their head around and kind of open their mouth and kind of search for the breast. Babies will also stick out their tongue. They might start sucking on their fingers. Or if it's been too long, they might start crying to let you know that they're hungry. Know that crying is a late indicator of hunger. So you'll want to start getting ready to feed your baby before they start crying. So when they're showing those early feeding cues. As I mentioned, babies typically feed 8 to 15 times in a 24-hour period. In the first 6 weeks, feedings are more frequent. After about 6 weeks to 2 months, feedings slow down a bit. 8 feedings every 24 hours is the bare minimum. Babies should pee and poop regularly and feed at least 8 times a day. In order to keep track of your baby's feedings in the early days and weeks, try using a feeding log or a chart. An option is to use a piece of paper, divide it up into 3 columns, one for feeds, one for pees, and one for poops, and make a check in each column as it happens. That way, you'll be able to count up at the end of a 24-hour period the amount of feeds, pees, and poops your baby has had, and if it falls within the recommended number of pees and poops and breastfeeds, then you know that your baby's been getting enough to eat. Eventually, you're going to notice that your baby falls into a more predictable routine and you don't even need to keep the log anymore. It's really a great tool for the early weeks when we're establishing breastfeeding. Babies have growth spurts, and the first growth spurt happens around 10 days to 2 weeks, and then every couple of weeks, your baby will have another growth spurt. A growth spurt is a period of rapid growth, and your baby will want to nurse more frequently than they normally do. So watch for those growth spurts. Many moms are worried that they don't have enough milk at that time because the baby is nursing more frequently. But again, growth spurts happen every couple of weeks, and it's totally normal for your baby to want to nurse more frequently during those periods. So make sure that when you're breastfeeding your baby, you don't want to limit them to a strict schedule. It's much more important to follow their cues, making sure that they're getting enough to eat by tracking their pees and their poops, and also when they go to the pediatrician, tracking their weight gain. That will let you know that they're getting enough to eat. As your baby gets older, you can try to implement more of a routine or more of a schedule, but in the early weeks and months, it's not really recommended. You're really gonna wanna just enjoy following your baby's lead, enjoying that beautiful time breastfeeding your baby, cuddling your baby, that special time in the first few months that goes by so quickly. So I hope this helps you understand whether or not you need to make a breastfeeding schedule for your baby. Thanks for watching.